They ignored me the night my wife died. What they did next was even worse. My name is Alan Fisher. I'm 48 years old, and last Tuesday, my wife Maggie died from a sudden brain aneurysm. Just like that, 20 years of marriage gone in a single afternoon. We have one son, Cole. He's 10. He was at school when it happened. I still don't know how I'm supposed to explain this kind of thing to a kid. I could barely hold the phone. I remember I had to grip the edge of the kitchen counter just to stay upright. My fingers felt too heavy, my lungs too tight. When my mother answered, I could hardly get the words out. Maggie's gone. There was a pause. Then she said, Alan, we're in the middle of Greg's retirement party. Can we talk tomorrow? I didn't even hang up. I just set the phone on the counter and stared at it. The rest of that night moved in slow motion. I picked up Cole from his after-school chess club like it was any other Tuesday. I didn't tell him right away. I couldn't. I didn't know how. We sat on the living room floor together for what felt like hours. Not talking, not crying, just sitting there in the quiet, both of us trying to understand something impossible. Nobody came over. Nobody called to check on us. My parents didn't drive down. Maggie's sister lives out in Idaho, so I didn't expect her. But my own parents? We live 40 minutes apart. I might as well have been stranded on the moon. At some point, Cole asked if he could sleep in our bed. I said yes, of course. What else could I say? I watched him fall asleep on Maggie's side of the mattress, hugging her pillow like it was a life preserver. I sat there next to him in the dark, staring at the ceiling, trying not to scream. That's when it hit me. I was on my own. There's a very specific kind of silence that follows a death. Not the kind people talk about when they say quiet grief. I mean real silence. The silence that tells you nobody's coming, that the cavalry isn't just late, it was never even dispatched, that you're alone in this, and no one's going to hold your hand through it. The next morning, I called them again. I don't know why. Maybe I thought they'd slept on it, realized how cold they sounded. Maybe I thought they'd apologize. They didn't. My mother cried when I said the words again, Maggie's dead, but even her tears felt rehearsed. And then my father, always so calm and practical, cleared his throat and asked, was the life insurance in order? I didn't say anything. Not at first. I think I was waiting for him to realize what he'd just said, to hear it back in his own ears. But he didn't flinch. I hung up the phone. Cole was sitting at the kitchen table, eating dry cereal, still in his pajamas. I sat down across from him, reached out and smoothed down his hair. He looked up at me, like he was waiting for the world to make sense again. Daddy, he said quietly, are we going to be okay? I wanted to tell him yes, that of course we were, that things were hard, but we'd make it through. But I didn't know anymore. I really didn't. So instead I just said, I'm going to do everything I can, because that part at least was still true. We fought hard to become a family, and just when we made it, it was ripped away. I met Maggie at a night class at Northwest Ohio Community College. Creative writing, of all things. I was 27 and working full-time as a mechanic. The shop closed at 6, and I'd go straight to campus, hands still smelling like motor oil, to sit in a windowless classroom and try to figure out what a metaphor was. Maggie was the TA, graduate student from Bowling Green, filling in because the professor had to take medical leave halfway through the term. She walked in the first night wearing this long cardigan and those old librarian glasses she always said made her look serious. She looked like someone who belonged in that world, and I looked like someone who wandered into the wrong building. But when I stayed after class one night to ask about an assignment, she smiled at me like I mattered. Not like a charity case or someone to be pitied, just like a person, a real person. I liked your piece, she said, handing back my paper. The one about the broken down truck and the dog that wouldn't leave. It was just a story, I said. No, she said. It was honest. That's what got me. She saw things I didn't even know I was showing. I'd been writing about a busted truck, but she knew I was writing about my dad. After that, we started talking more after class. Then we got coffee. Then we started seeing each other outside of school. It wasn't fast, exactly, but it wasn't slow either. I think we both knew early on that it was something real. We got married when I was 28, just a courthouse ceremony with a lunch afterward at a place called Miller's Diner. Her mom had passed a few years earlier, and her dad was out of the picture. My parents showed up, said all the right things, gave us a card with a check for $100, but I could tell my mom didn't get it. She thought Maggie was too bookish for me. My dad said she had nice posture. We didn't care. We had our own little life in a rented duplex off Route 15. Maggie got a part-time job at the public library shelving books and running the Saturday story hour for kids. I took over a small auto repair shop from the man who'd trained me, paid him off in installments. It wasn't glamorous, but it was solid. It was ours. What wasn't solid, what turned into years of quiet heartbreak, was trying to have a child. We started trying after the first year of marriage. Nothing happened. Then came the doctor visits, the ultrasounds, the appointments in Toledo where Maggie cried quietly in the passenger seat on the drive back because the nurse had been too cheerful, like it was a game. 3 miscarriages, 2 failed IUI cycles. Every single month felt like a countdown to disappointment. Our friends stopped asking how it was going. My mother suggested we stop stressing about it so much. Like that helped. Maggie kept her grief private, but I could see it every time she walked past the empty room we'd painted pale green. It had a mobile she bought at a garage sale, little stars made of felt. I remember the day we put it up, even though we didn't have a crib yet. I just like having it there, she'd said. Hope needs a place to land. Then one February morning, cold, icy roads, and I remember, because I was late to open the shop, she came flying into the garage, still in her slippers, holding a pregnancy test in both hands. Positive. We didn't tell anyone until the second trimester, not even her best friend, Dana. We were too scared. But Cole held on. He came into this world 2 weeks early, red-faced and howling, and I swear I've never felt anything so full of life. We were 38, tired, broke, and happy in a way I didn't know was possible. Maggie loved being his mom, not in the Instagram way, in the real, show-up-every-day way. She'd sit with him on the floor for hours making up stories about trucks with feelings and pirates who ran bakeries. She taught him the alphabet with sticky notes and sang to him when he had the flu. She was exactly who a kid like Cole needed, which is why I can't stop thinking about the last few weeks before she died. She'd been getting headaches, sharp ones, out of nowhere. At first, she brushed it off. Just tension, she said. Probably just stress. And I believed her. I should have made her go to the doctor. I should have said something when she started keeping the lights dim in the evening or when she rubbed her temples at the grocery store because the fluorescent bulbs were too loud. But I didn't, because we'd fought so hard for this family, and I didn't want to believe anything could break it now. I thought we'd made it. We hadn't. That night, I had to tell my son his mom wasn't coming home. It started like any other Tuesday. Maggie made scrambled eggs with too much pepper, just how Cole liked them. He was at the table whining about his socks, something about the seams feeling weird. I was halfway through a travel mug of coffee, scrolling through customer texts on my phone, already thinking about the 2 oil changes and busted AC compressor waiting for me at the shop. Maggie kissed me on the cheek on her way out the door. "I'll grab groceries after story hour," she said, adjusting the canvas bag over her shoulder. "We're out of apples, and Cole's going to riot if I pack his lunch without one tomorrow." "Love you," I said. "Love you more," she replied, smiling. Then she was gone. That was the last time I saw her alive. At exactly 11:32 a.m., I got a call from our neighbor Carrie. She was out of breath, her voice high and shaking. She kept saying Maggie's name like a warning. "She collapsed," Carrie said. "At Kroger, in the checkout line. The ambulance is already on the way." I don't remember getting in my truck. I don't remember the drive. I just remember running into the ER, my hands still stained with grease, holding a brown paper bag with my sandwich and a banana that I never ate. When I got there, they had already taken her back. A nurse met me at the desk. She didn't even look surprised. Like this was just another Tuesday for her, too. I said, "My wife, Maggie Fisher, someone called me. She collapsed. She didn't make me wait long." "I'm so sorry," the nurse said. "It was an aneurysm. It happened very fast. There was nothing they could do." My ears buzzed. I could see her lips moving, could hear her words, but none of it made sense. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there, holding that dumb paper bag like it mattered. They let me see her. She looked like she was sleeping, except she wasn't breathing, and I knew she never would again. I touched her hand. It was cold. I sat in the hallway outside the room for 2 hours. I couldn't bring myself to leave. I didn't want to go home because going home meant telling Cole. He was still at school, still arguing about socks and laughing at recess and thinking about chicken nuggets for lunch, still a kid with both his parents. When the bell rang, I picked him up like always. I didn't say anything in the car. He talked about gym class and some kid named Ben who got hit in the face with a dodgeball. He laughed like he was trying to make me laugh too. I kept driving. We got home. I made him a peanut butter sandwich, but he barely touched it. I think he could feel it. Something was wrong, even if he didn't know what yet. I sat down across from him at the kitchen table. "Cole," I said. He looked up at me with those big brown eyes that looked just like hers. I couldn't find the words. I didn't want to say them, but I had to, because he was my son, and he deserved the truth. "Mom had something happen today," I said slowly. She got really sick at the store. They took her to the hospital. His face froze, and I felt my throat closing up. "She didn't make it, buddy." Silence. His lower lip started to tremble, but he didn't cry right away. He just stared at me like he was waiting for me to say the rest, some kind of twist, a punchline, just kidding. But it never came. Then he whispered, "She died?" I nodded. That was the only thing I could do. He covered his face with both hands and let out the softest, most gutting sob I've ever heard. I pulled him into my lap and held him like I used to when he was 2 and scared of thunderstorms. He shook and cried and asked me over and over again why it had to happen, and I had no answer. That night, after I got him to sleep, I found a folded piece of construction paper on the coffee table. It had been drawn in blue and green marker with a big red heart in the center. "I love you, Mommy," it said in jagged letters. "You are the best reader ever." He'd made it that morning. I remembered now. He had slipped it into his backpack, said he wanted to surprise her after school. She never got to see it. I sat there holding that card for an hour, just holding it. Then I put it on her pillow. But they weren't done. They showed up 3 days later, uninvited. That night, after I told Cole, I called my parents again. I don't know why. I guess I still hoped on some level that they'd finally act like parents, that they'd show up, that they'd say, "We're on our way." Instead, I got disbelief. My mom answered. I told her, clear this time, no stammering, no softening it. "Maggie's dead. Aneurysm, Tuesday morning. She collapsed at Kroger and died before I got there." There was a pause. Then her voice broke a little. "Oh my God, are you sure? She's so young." Then in the background, I heard my dad say something. Muffled. My mom didn't mute fast enough. "He wants to know if the life insurance is in order," she added, barely a second later. That was his first question. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "Do you need help with Cole?" Not even a "Damn, do you want us to come by?" Just a quick pivot to the paperwork. Money. Logistics. Cold facts. I hung up without saying another word. I don't know if they called back. I didn't check. I was too busy trying to explain to my 10-year-old why people send lasagna after someone dies but don't actually come over. Too busy sorting through Maggie's things in the bathroom and realizing I couldn't throw any of them away. Too busy making sure Cole remembered to brush his teeth because Maggie always used to sing to him while he did, and now the bathroom was too quiet. 3 days later, they showed up. I was sitting on the porch with Cole, watching him kick a soccer ball weakly across the yard. He hadn't smiled once in days. He kept going through the motions, eating, brushing his hair, putting his shoes on, but it was like watching someone on autopilot. Then a blue Buick pulled into the driveway. My parents, they got out like it was any other visit. No flowers, no casseroles, just a store-bought fruit tray still in the grocery bag. My dad was wearing khakis and a golf shirt like he'd come straight from the clubhouse. "Hey, son," he said, "mind if we come in?" I didn't say anything, just stepped aside and let them pass. We sat in the kitchen. Cole stayed on the porch. My mom unwrapped the fruit tray and set it on the table like she was hosting brunch. "We thought we'd come by," she said. "Just wanted to check in." It sounded rehearsed, like something she'd read off a condolence card. Then my dad cleared his throat. "We wanted to talk to you about something important." Here it comes, I thought. Maybe they were finally going to say sorry for the other night, or ask what we needed, offer to help with Cole, anything remotely human. Instead, he pulled a folded spreadsheet out of his jacket pocket and laid it on the table. We've been reviewing our expenses, he said. Medicare premiums went up, groceries too. And we figured, well, with the policy Maggie had, you're probably in a decent position now. I stared at him, not sure I heard right. My mom jumped in. We supported you through your 20s, helped you with your first apartment, paid for your wedding. I paid you back for the apartment, I said. But the wedding, she said quickly. We just thought maybe now would be a good time to return the favor, even things out a little. Even things out, I repeated. Dad nodded like it was a reasonable business deal. We're asking for half of the payout. Just half. It's only fair. Only fair. I didn't throw them out. I don't know why. Maybe because Cole was still outside and I didn't want him to hear yelling. Maybe because I was in shock. Or maybe I still couldn't believe this was actually happening. Instead, I stood up, walked to the sink, took a long breath. Behind me, they were still talking about budgeting, about retirement, about how they weren't asking for charity, just a fair slice. Then I heard the screen door creak. Cole had come back inside. He stood in the doorway to the kitchen, his face pale and serious. He looked at the spreadsheet, at the fruit tray, then at me. I was about to say something to diffuse it, to make it less awful, but he spoke first. Do they think mommy dying is like winning the lottery? Silence. My dad shifted uncomfortably. My mom's eyes went wide. I stepped between them and Cole. That's enough, I said. They didn't argue. They gathered their things, awkward and slow, as if unsure what had just gone wrong. Like, as if it hadn't been wrong from the second they walked in. They left without hugging Cole, without saying Maggie's name once. When the door shut behind them, I turned to my son. I'm so sorry, I said. He shook his head. They don't care, Dad. I didn't disagree. I didn't tell him to be polite. I didn't say, they're grieving too. Because they weren't. Not really. They were just greedy. I didn't throw them out. Not yet. But Cole heard everything. They came back the next day. Not to apologize. Not to grieve with us. They came with a plan. Same blue Buick. Same stiff posture. But this time they brought coffee and bagels. My mom even wore perfume. Like they thought a little effort would soften what they were about to do. I didn't want to let them in, but Cole was in his room working on a Lego spaceship, and I didn't want to fight on the porch. We sat in the kitchen again. They put the food on the table like it made us some kind of family again. Then my dad pulled out the spreadsheet again, now with highlighted rows. We need your help, he said like it was a reasonable favor. Our Medicare premiums went up again, and your mom's prescription plan no longer covers her heart meds. My mom nodded solemnly. We're not asking for the whole thing, Alan. We're not monsters. But it's just, you're probably pretty set now. I stared at them. Set? I mean, Maggie had that policy, my dad said gently. You and Cole should be okay now. You could really make a difference for us. My mom leaned in, lowering her voice like she was sharing a secret. We supported you through your 20s. Helped you with the down payment on your first shop, remember? We just thought you might return the favor now. And the favor, I asked, is giving you half of my dead wife's life insurance? They didn't blink. It's only fair, my dad said again, like it was a magic phrase. I looked at the bagels. One had cream cheese already spread, like they thought I'd eat while we talked about this. You stood in my kitchen 2 days after she died and asked me about the money, I said. And now you're here with spreadsheets and bagels like we're talking about refinancing a boat. You're being emotional, my mom said gently. Of course I'm emotional, I snapped. My wife just died. We know that, my dad said like I was being difficult. But you can't let grief cloud practical decisions. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It was short and bitter and hollow. Then I heard a soft shuffle behind me. Cole was standing at the end of the hall, barefoot, hair messy, holding something in his hand. What is it, bud? I asked, my voice dropping. He walked up to the table and held out a piece of paper. It was folded once and a little wrinkled. I opened it. It was another drawing. This time, a picture of a gravestone with Mom written on it, and next to it, 2 stick figures labeled Grandma and Grandpa, both with $signs above their heads. Below that, in bold red crayon, he'd written, Do you think money is more important than Mom? My mom gasped like someone had slapped her. My dad cleared his throat again and looked away. Cole didn't say anything else. He just turned around and went back to his room. I didn't follow him. I looked straight at my parents. Congratulations, I said. That's what you've taught him about you. My mom tried to recover. Alan, he's just a child. He doesn't understand. No, I said, my voice quiet but hard. He understands exactly. They sat for a few more minutes, awkward and stiff, waiting for me to soften. I didn't. They eventually gathered their things, the spreadsheet, the bagels, and left without another word. That night, as I was tucking Cole in, he looked up at me and asked, "Do they think mommy dying is like winning the lottery?" I didn't answer right away. He nodded to himself after a moment and whispered, "That's what it felt like." He turned his face to the wall and went silent. I sat there a long time watching him breathe, watching his chest rise and fall, trying to understand how a 10-year-old could already know so much about disappointment. When I finally left his room, I stood in the hallway staring at Maggie's picture on the wall, the one of her reading to Cole at the library's Halloween event. She had a paper witch hat on and the kind of laugh in her eyes you don't fake. She was worth everything. They didn't deserve a single cent of her, and they were never getting it. Then they tried using my sister to get to me. The next morning, I called Dana. Dana was Maggie's best friend since college, and conveniently also a lawyer. She's the kind of person who wears chunky earrings, drinks herbal tea out of mason jars, and has no patience for bullshit. Maggie loved her like a sister. I liked her because she never sugarcoated anything. She came over that afternoon with her laptop and a file folder. "They have zero claim," she said, flipping through the paperwork. "Life insurance is non-contestable. No joint signatures. Nothing in your parents' name. They're fishing." "I figured," I said. She looked at me. "But if they keep showing up, harassing you, or, God forbid, trying to get near Cole again, we can file a cease and desist. Might not be what Maggie would have wanted, but it'll hold." That part hit me. What Maggie would have wanted. She would have wanted peace. She would have wanted Cole to feel safe. And above all, she would have wanted her son to know that family doesn't take advantage of grief. I thanked Dana and walked her out. As she left, she turned back and said, "You're doing better than you think." I didn't feel like I was. That night, I sat down with Cole on the porch. The sky was pink and gray, the kind Maggie used to call storybook skies. Cole had his knees pulled to his chest. "I talked to Dana," I told him. "She says Grandma and Grandpa can't take anything from us. But I think it's best if we don't see them right now." He nodded slowly. "They're not sad like us," he said. "They're just greedy." It wasn't bitterness in his voice. It was fact, like he was reciting something from a textbook. I hugged him. The next morning, I blocked both their numbers. I called the school and added Dana to the emergency pickup list, then gave them specific instructions. No one, absolutely no one, was allowed to take Cole home unless it was me or her. They understood. One of the secretaries even squeezed my hand when I signed the new paperwork. "You're doing the right thing," she said. I wanted that to be the end of it, but it wasn't. 3 days later, I got an email from my sister, Stephanie. Subject line, "Let's be adults about this." I hadn't talked to her in almost a year. She lived 2 hours away, some mid-level accountant who thought sarcasm was a personality. She wasn't close to Maggie, didn't come to Cole's birthday parties, sent gift cards with her name scrawled like an afterthought. The email had a spreadsheet attached, no greeting, no condolences, just a breakdown. Literally, a financial breakdown. Estimated life insurance total. Projected college expenses for Cole, retirement projections for my parents, suggested fair distribution among immediate family stakeholders, even a proposed trust fund for her own daughter, Sophia. And then in bold, "Let's be reasonable and make sure everyone benefits from this tragedy." That word, benefits, made my stomach turn. I clicked reply. Typed, "Stephanie, if you ever use the word tragedy in a spreadsheet again, I will make sure you never speak to your nephew another day in your life." Then I deleted the draft, closed the laptop, walked outside, and screamed into the empty backyard. The next morning, Cole asked why I looked tired. I told him, "Our family is acting crazy right now, but I'm going to keep you safe. That's my job." He nodded, reached into his backpack, and pulled out a drawing. Another one. This time, it was a pie chart. 3 sections. One labeled Mom's Love, one labeled Dad's Protection, and one labeled Nobody Else's Business. I taped it to the fridge. It's still there. I didn't reply to Stephanie's email. I didn't need to. She, like the rest of them, had shown me exactly who she was, and now finally I believed them. But that wasn't the end. It was just the start of a new chapter. It was a Sunday afternoon. Cloudy, warm, the kind of weather Maggie used to call laundry weather because it made everything smell like rain, even when it hadn't fallen yet. Cole and I were finishing grilled cheese on the back porch when I got a text from Stephanie. Family meeting at Mom and Dad's, 3 p.m. We all need to talk. No, please. No question mark. No warning. I stared at it for a full minute. They're pulling something, I said out loud, more to myself than anyone. Cole looked up. Are we going? He asked like he was already prepared for whatever awful thing would happen. I was thinking no, I told him. Unless you want to. He nodded. I want to say something too. That stopped me for a second. You sure? Yeah, he said. I've been thinking about it. We got in the truck at 2:50 and drove the 40 minutes in silence. I kept looking at him through the rear view. He sat with his knees tucked up, backpack clutched in his lap like it was armor. Their house looked exactly the same. Perfect grass, 2 flags, 1 American, 1 seasonal, fake flowers on the porch like grief didn't live there. We walked in without knocking. The living room was full, aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years. Folding chairs had been set up in a semicircle. There was even a tray of lemonade and a plate of lemon bars. I felt sick. Stephanie stood near the TV with a clipboard in hand. She gave me a tight smile. Thanks for coming. We just thought it would be better to talk in person, like a family. I glanced around. Every eye on me and Cole. My mother was perched on the couch like a queen bee at a community theater. My father stood near the fireplace, arms crossed, face unreadable. Then someone handed me a packet, a stapled agenda. It had bullet points. Retirement support strategy, fair distribution models, Sophia's college fund needs, emotional labor and financial equity. It was the most manipulative thing I'd ever seen. They had turned Maggie's death into a PowerPoint. I didn't sit down. Cole reached into his backpack and pulled something out, a folded piece of paper drawn with black Sharpie and red crayon. He walked up to the center of the room, alone, brave, small, and unfolded it slowly. It was a receipt, a hand-drawn one with a big heading, Cost of Being a Grandparent Who Cares, $. Underneath it, in Cole's careful handwriting, it said, being there when someone is sad, free. Saying something kind, free. Not asking for money when someone dies, free. Actually loving your family, priceless. The room went silent. My mom's hand flew to her mouth. Stephanie looked like she'd swallowed a lemon bar sideways. My dad, his jaw clenched, his face flushed red. But he didn't say a word. Cole looked at them, then turned and walked back to my side, handing me the drawing like a mic drop. I looked at everyone, one by one. Here's the thing, I said, loud but calm. We're done here. My mother blinked fast. Alan, please. No, I shook my head. You set this whole thing up like a business pitch. You invited people I haven't spoken to in years. You didn't come to comfort us. You came to negotiate. It's not like that, my father said stiffly. It's exactly like that, I said. You didn't mention Maggie's name once. You didn't ask how Cole is sleeping at night. You handed me an agenda that treats her death like a windfall. Stephanie tried to speak. It's just an outline of options. No, it's a shakedown, I snapped, and you should be ashamed. For once, nobody interrupted me. I looked down at Cole, who was gripping my hand. This is my family. I said him, me, that's it. We walked out. No one followed. In the truck, as we pulled away, I finally let out the breath I'd been holding all day. My hands shook on the steering wheel. Cole turned to me. They didn't say sorry. No, I said. They didn't. He leaned back, pulling Maggie's bookmark from his pocket, the one she always kept in her favorite library book. It had a quote on it, kindness is free, sprinkle it everywhere. He looked out the window. I think Mommy would have liked what I said. I swallowed hard. She would have loved it. That night, after Cole went to bed, I got a message from my Aunt Lori. She was quiet at the meeting, hadn't spoken a word. Her text read, not everyone agrees with your parents. If you ever need anything, I'm here. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. Then came a different kind of letter, one with an apology. For about a week, there was nothing. No calls, no texts, no surprise visits with baked goods and spreadsheets, just silence. At first, I didn't trust it. I figured they were regrouping, strategizing a new angle, maybe having Stephanie whip up a second family plan. But nothing came. Not even passive-aggressive texts about being disappointed. Until Thursday morning. I was going through Cole's backpack. He'd forgotten to turn in a reading log again when the doorbell rang. It was Dana, holding a manila envelope. "You got a letter," she said, handing it over. "Thought I should look at it first." I opened it while she stood in my kitchen sipping tea. It was from my father, not my parents, not my mother's flowery cursive, just him. The handwriting was stiff, as if he'd written it 3 times before getting it right. "No, dear Alan, just we are disappointed in how things have turned out. This distance is unfortunate, but we must now reevaluate our relationship with you moving forward. We hope you reconsider your position regarding the funds." Dana didn't even blink. "This reads like a ransom note written by a bored accountant," she said. "Don't reply." "I wasn't planning on it." She nodded, tucked the letter back into the envelope, and said, "Let me know if they escalate. Otherwise, let it rot." I wanted to be done, but of course they weren't. The school called me the following Monday afternoon. I was under a truck replacing a busted drive shaft when my phone buzzed with a number from Cole's school. "Hi, Mr. Fisher. Just letting you know we had to turn away your mother today." I froze. "Excuse me?" She showed up during dismissal, said she was picking up Cole, but we have your updated emergency contact list, so we didn't release him. He didn't seem surprised, just told us she's not allowed. Very calm. I wiped the sweat off my neck with a rag, heart pounding. "Thank you for calling." That night, I asked Cole about it while we ate dinner, frozen pizza and canned peaches. His favorite. "She tried to pick me up," he said. "Yeah, I saw her outside the office. She waved, but I didn't wave back." "You okay?" He took a bite, then shrugged. "They still don't get it, do they?" I didn't have to ask what he meant. They still didn't get that Maggie was his mom, that her death was not an excuse to dig their claws into our lives, that grief wasn't a transaction, that showing up with charts and sob stories didn't make them family again. And then that Friday, I got another letter. Different envelope, different handwriting, more elegant, thoughtful. Inside was a single sheet of paper handwritten in blue ink. It was from our cousin Julia. She was my mom's niece, a few years younger than me, grew up coming to Christmas dinners, later went to law school, now worked in some firm in Cleveland. Maggie always liked her, said she had integrity in her bones. Her letter was short, but real. "Alan, I just wanted you to know I had no idea what was happening until that meeting. I was sick to my stomach. What they're doing is wrong. You're grieving, and they're treating it like opportunity. I've told them I won't be part of it. I've blocked Stephanie. I won't attend any more family meetings. I'm sorry you and Cole were put through that. You deserved better. Maggie deserved better. If you ever need anything, really, let me know." With care, Julia, I sat on the porch with that letter in my hand for a long time. It didn't fix everything, but it was the first thing that didn't feel poisoned. When Cole came out to sit next to me, I showed it to him. He read it quietly, then asked, "Is she the one who brought brownies once and said my robot drawing was genius level?" "That's her." He nodded. "I liked her." "Me too," I said. He leaned his head against my arm. "Maybe some family is okay." I looked at the horizon, orange, gray, fading, and thought, maybe. Then Cole asked if we could maybe let Grandpa and Grandma try again. Grief doesn't disappear, it just changes shape. About a month after the last letter, I started sleeping a little better. Not great, but enough. Cole wasn't crying at night anymore. He'd ask about Maggie sometimes, especially on Sundays when they used to make pancakes together. He'd say, "Remember how she made them in animal shapes?" And I'd say, "Yeah, you always ate the ears first." We had our own little routines now. One of them was Saturdays at the library, Maggie's library. It started with us just dropping off books. Then Cole said, "Can we stay for story time?" Then we stayed longer. Then the librarian, a woman named Marcia, asked if I'd like to help organize the donation shelf. One thing led to another. I ended up creating the Maggie Fisher Literacy Fund. Dana helped set up the paperwork, nonprofit status, donation tracking, all of it. We put out a call on Facebook, shared some photos of Maggie reading with Cole, and by the end of the first week, the fundraiser had $8,000. I couldn't believe it. People started writing in. Notes from former students, moms who remembered Maggie's voice during story time, a guy who said Maggie helped him fill out job applications when he was between gigs. It made something inside me loosen. Like a knot had finally untangled. I poured myself into the fund. Cole helped too. He made bookmarks to give away, at events. Maggie had a huge collection of them. She used to say bookmarks were like little paper hugs. We handed them out with quotes she loved. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. Stuff like that. Maggie's sister flew in from Idaho for Cole's 11th birthday, brought him a telescope. We all sat outside that night, wrapped in blankets, spotting constellations. I almost cried when I saw him smile for real. Then came the guitar lessons. My old buddy Mason, who teaches music out of his garage, offered to take Cole on as a student, no charge. He's got rhythm, Mason said after the first lesson. Smart kid. Cole practiced every night. One evening, while he was strumming something slow and clumsy on the porch, he looked up and asked, "Dad, if Grandpa and Grandma wanted to say sorry, would that be okay?" I wasn't ready for that. I set down my mug. "You want to see them?" He shrugged. "Not right away, but maybe someday. Just to see if they're different." I sat beside him. "Why?" He looked at me and said, "Because maybe they're sad now too, just not in the right way. But maybe they could learn." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept turning it over in my head. The rage, the silence, the absolute gall of what they'd done. But I also thought about Cole, about what it took for a kid to say that, about how Maggie had always said forgiveness wasn't weakness. It was choosing peace over pride. The next morning, I got the mail. Among the bills and junk flyers, there was a letter from my parents. The handwriting was shaky, older, it was my dad's, but it wasn't about money, it was about shame. "Alan, we've been thinking a lot, too much, and not enough when it mattered. What we said, what we did, we can't take it back. But we see now how wrong we were. About Maggie. About you. About everything. We miss our grandson. We miss you. We know we don't deserve a place in your life right now, but if there's ever a door, even a crack of one, we'd like to knock, not push. Love." Dad, no spreadsheets, no pitches. Just that. I didn't know what to do with it, so I showed it to Cole. He read it twice. Then he tucked it into one of Maggie's old bookmarks and placed it in a book from the library, Charlotte's Web. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. Maybe forgiveness wasn't a switch. Maybe it was a seed. Forgiveness isn't free, but maybe it can be earned. Slowly. A week after the letter, Cole and I sat in the library parking lot, waiting for the rain to pass. He was flipping through one of Maggie's old bookmarks, the one with a faded watercolor sunflower and the quote, "You don't have to be blooming to still be growing." He looked up from it. "Could we meet them somewhere?" I paused. "You sure?" "Not at their house," he said quickly. "Just like ice cream or something, somewhere normal." That stuck with me. Somewhere I texted them that night. Kept it short, 15 minutes. Ice cream cabin in Tiffin, Saturday. Just the three of us. No agenda. The next day they replied, "We'll be there. Thank you." Saturday came. We got there early. Cole was nervous, but he tried to hide it behind a double scoop of birthday cake swirl. I watched the window while he counted the sprinkle colors. They showed up right at 3. No clipboard, no gift bags, just them. My mom looked smaller, not older exactly, just quieter. My dad's shoulders were slumped like he hadn't slept well in weeks. They approached slow, cautious, like they understood this was sacred ground and one wrong word would send us packing. "Hi, Cole," my mom said gently. He didn't answer right away. Then he gave a tiny wave. "Hi." We sat outside under the awning. Light rain pattered the plastic table. No one brought up Maggie. No one brought up money. There were no apologies that tried too hard. Just silence, then small questions. "What kind of guitar are you learning?" my dad asked. "Acoustic," Cole said. "My teacher says I've got strong fingers." "That's good," my dad nodded. "What books are you into these days?" my mom asked. "Fantasy," Cole said, "with dragons and stuff. Mom used to read them with voices." My mom swallowed hard. She was good at that, she said quietly. There was no speech, no begging, just presence. When the time was up, I checked my watch. "All right," I said, "time to go." They stood. My dad lingered a second. "Could we maybe see him again next month?" I didn't answer right away. Then I said it. "We'll see." And this time, I meant it. Cole tugged at my sleeve as we reached the truck. He pulled something out of his coat pocket and walked back to them. It was one of Maggie's bookmarks, the sunflower one. He handed it to my mother. "One chance," he said. She didn't cry. She just held it in both hands like it was fragile. "Thank you," she whispered. As we drove home, Cole leaned back in his seat, humming a tune he'd been learning on guitar. I didn't feel healed, but I didn't feel broken either. Maggie used to say that grief isn't a wound that closes, it's a room you learn to live in. You hang pictures, you let in light, you don't forget who's missing, but you also don't stop building. That day, Cole and I added a new window to the room. Not for the past, for the future. On our terms.